How's it going, guys? My name is Stone, and welcome to these reviews. Today I have a very special review for both you and me, I hope. That being, I'm going to be talking about one of the many unreleased albums by the Beach Boys, and the first of which being Adult Child. Now, this would have been the follow-up to their 1977 album Love You, but was rejected by their label and was eventually replaced by the MIU album in '78. This record shows a completely different side of the band, with one that features big band arrangements and a continuation of Brian's experimentation in the late '70s that was kind of felt on Love You. Um, though it has never been released officially, bootlegs like these have helped Adult Child gain a cult following amongst Beach Boy fans, and I find it at least to be a proper follow-up to the experimentation that was felt in the late '70s by this band, or at least that little creativity revival that I think they could have kept going a little more if they had went with this direction. Now I'll just show this off a little before I go on the track listing. This is a 1985 bootleg I have that I got on Discogs some time ago. I love, first off, I love the cover on here and the font. I would hope this is the album cover they would have went if it was released, but I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't. And then I like the back, how it says Brian's back, kind of being ironic with how he's back with the band, but you know. And then you have the track listing. It comes with some bonus tracks, which I'll go more in detail. And I love the liner notes, as it kind of goes into detail about this record and gives a little song analysis, gives detail about each song. But not funny, but I guess the humorous part about it is that they're all by Eugene Landy, so I would like to get a Beach Boy to sign this if I ever bumped into one, but I don't know how they feel about that. Alright, side 1 begins with the incredible and bombastic track Life is for the Living, and this has both Carl and Brian sharing lead vocals while being backed by a fantastic big band arrangement. I think there's it's one of 4 on here that were all arranged by Dick Reynolds, the same guy who did the Christmas album. And this track introduces a side of Brian that was already felt in Love You, with the lyrics talking about living life to the fullest through things like working out, eating healthy, and not smoking weed. These are all the things that I imagine he was being told to do in order to get his life back together. And I love how he's able to write a song about those subjects in a way that's still very memorable and has such a great melody to it. And I also love how we get to hear one of the Beach Boys curse in a song, because I don't think they do it anywhere else. But yeah, I just love how he says, "Don't sit around," what does it say? "Don't sit around on your ass smoking grass." Yeah, kind of funny. And especially coming from Carl, it's all better. We then get to the most unsettling part of the album, and perhaps the most unsettling song in the Beach Boys catalog, and that is Hey Little Tomboy. Now, I will admit I do enjoy the melody and progression that this song has, but the lyrics are pretty bad to listen to, obviously talking about converting a little girl who's trying to be a tomboy into a real girl, which has, what's the term? I guess it's not become dated, but has aged badly, I suppose. And especially on this version, it's way worse than the MIU one. This is probably the only case on the entire album where I enjoyed the officially released version, just because they get rid of that whispering part where they're talking to her about taking your, shaving your legs and putting your makeup on. It's just a little much, but I don't know. Even then, it's not a good song. I feel like if the lyrics were different, it would have been a pretty good song because the melody is not that bad, but I don't know. You can't win them all, I suppose. Following that, though, is the magnificent cover of Peter DeRose's composition, Deep Purple. This features one of my favorite vocal performances by Brian on this album, as he just soars as freely as the orchestration does behind him. And it's just so magical, in my opinion. I also have to mention how much I love his voice in the late '70s, and how he almost struggles to reach certain notes in a song. I find it to add character to these tracks. Yeah, it can be confusing judging whether or not it's either him singing or Dennis singing. Especially on Love You and stuff, but yeah. After that comes the track Help Is On The Way, which is a very lovely Baroque pop sound to it, and I think it adds to the optimism that the subject has, that being the importance of eating healthy, like eating your radishes and avoiding sugary foods. It may not be the best song on the album, but it's still a very enjoyable listen, and it continues to detail Brian's personal life very well, in my opinion, in a nice musical manner, which I absolutely love, especially coming from Brian. We then get to one of the many great Beach Boys songs that was never officially released on an album, that being It's Over Now. Yeah, almost said It's Over Now, Baby Blue. This has this has one of Brian's best vocal melodies and is sung beautifully by him, Carl, and his first wife, Marilyn. I also love the swirling keyboard effects that are played on top of another great big band arrangement, which kind of creates this massive wall of sound that reminds me a lot of Phil Spector, which of course we all know Brian was heavily influenced by, and I just love how he's able to do it on here with a very, I don't know, electronic feel. Like I said, that swirling keyboards just makes the atmosphere so much more lush, I suppose, and just so somber, especially with the lyrics. But yeah, I'm glad they eventually did release the song rather than most of the other songs on here being left out, because it is really good and would have stood out as like the best song on MIU in my opinion. The original track listing for Adult Child would have concluded with another great Brian track, Everybody Wants to Live, which comes up now in this track listing. This track includes some fuzzy organ playing and a really nice drum groove, and all three Wilson brothers singing together with a harmony that's just so nice, and only they can conjure, really, even if their voices are a little raspier now at this point. I think it makes for a satisfying conclusion for side one, but like I said, on this record it comes with 3 bonus tracks, which I think only make it a more enjoyable listen, and I don't know, I find these 3 covers they do to be very fitting on this record, and I don't know, would have worked very well. It begins with their version of Moni Moni, which for a while I thought was sung by Al Jardine, but apparently it's actually sung by their touring member Billy Hinchy, which I find to be pretty crazy because they sound remarkably similar to one another. It has a steady beat going throughout it, which includes some very buoyant organ playing by Brian, and I love how there's just such a tense feeling to the music, or at least with the melody. And I like how both of them sound like they're having such a great time singing, and it feels more like a rocker than anything else. And like I said, they're not taking it too seriously, which makes it fun for them to just sing along to. And yeah, I think it would have fit well with the rest of the atmosphere of this record. It quickly jumps into the next cover, Ruby Baby, which sounds like it could have been from the 15 Big Ones sessions. They seem to slow the song down a little and add like a blues waltz to it, and I love how Brian's vocals are very fitting for the song, especially the way he sings some of those weird, stockish lyrics, I suppose. And I also just love the use of harmonica in the background. It's just a really good song that I think has a very good groove throughout it, and as I keep saying, fits perfectly well on this record. And after that, we finished the trilogy of covers and side one of this bootleg with another great cover, I say the best of the 3, Be My Baby, which may have been recorded a couple of years after this record, so it might have not made it, but this has a great lead vocal by Mike, and a great drum beat, and just some great keyboard playing, which I assume comes from Brian. And it would make sense if this album was recorded by them around this time, only because Brian has always been a big fan of the song, and I think it's still his favorite song, as he says. And I just love how they have an unusual arrangement to it that still is very enthralling, and only makes me want to flip the record over even more. Now, side 2 is bookended by 2 covers, which I believe only make Adult Child more of a jarring listening experience, but still a very enjoyable one, as side one was. It opens with one of, if not my favorite cover by the Beach Boys, "You Lost That Loving Feeling." Another track in which Brian is cited as an influence. I find his vocal performance on here to be heartbreakingly beautiful, as his gruff voice still manages to hit those higher notes after all the abuse he has put his voice through. I also think this is the perfect song to cover during these sessions, since the lyrics and melody conjure an atmosphere that really relates to this album greatly, in the sense of just being, I don't know, I guess the idea of like innocence and maturity and just everything in between that. I also think that I don't know, it's not to say that's the best rendition of this track, but it's just one I have grown to be very close to and just really enjoy. And I think they released this on the main California box set, so that was nice to have officially released. Following that is the incredible cover and the intended opener for side 2, "Shorten and Bread." This is an old folk song that Brian was apparently obsessed with in the late 70s and was recorded multiple times during that same time, most notably for the Light album in '79. This version, however, is clearly a standout, as it includes some fiery vocals by Carl that I can't help but try to sing to because it's just so fun, it's just so like energetic, and I absolutely love Brian's baritone voice in the background keeping the melody going. And just like, it sounds like a song that, with its like, I don't know, rhythmic bounce to it, could have been something they could have jammed to, and if they were to be a jam band, but I don't think they would have. But if they ever did, I feel like this would have been a great song for that. Have Carl going off on the guitar or something, that would be cool. But we then get to the track that introduced me to this record and this side of the Beach Boys that I had never heard of up until this point. And once I heard this song, I knew I needed this record because I wanted to have this song on me all the time. Since it's not on Spotify or anything, but that song is Lines now. Now this song, you may think, just based off the title alone, you think it's like about cocaine lines, which I know Brian and Dennis were doing a lot around this time, but it's actually talking about waiting in line at a movie, and for it being under 2 minutes, it couldn't have been done any better. I love how it has that classic Brian sound all over it, with its cutesy lyrics and unusual arrangement. And I especially love how it ends on that coda with Carl singing how the characters are going to tell each other about their love. It's just so, I don't want to say cute, I want to find a better word. It's just so, like I said, it's so sweet and innocent, I suppose. And I really love how upbeat it is, and I don't know, it's just a song I absolutely adore. Maybe not like a top 10 for it being so short, but like, it's very charming, and it really made me fall in love with the rest of this album. After that comes Al Jardine's first lead vocal performance on the track, "On Broadway," a song that I think the Beach Boys cover very successfully, like most of the covers on this album. It has such a sleaziness to it through the saxophone and how Al hits those longer notes, in my opinion, and it just has such a cool vibe to it that only adds to the coolness of this record. I don't know, for me, this album, I like to say it's cool, but also it tries to not be cool. I feel like it sounds cool because it doesn't sound cool, if that makes sense. I don't know. I'm not to be that guy, like, oh, no, you don't get it, it's supposed to sound bad. I'm not trying to sound like that, but I really like just how torn this album is, I guess. And I think this song just really adds to the character of this record, and that how it really does feel like just a pile of songs that they know what to do with. But following that is the track "Games Two Can Play," which was actually written during the Sunflower sessions. This is a very catchy song that, very much like Sunflower, has a very sunny atmosphere to it, thanks to the lovely acoustic guitar and Carl's soothing lead vocal. And I think it was smart for them not to re-record it around this time, because I think it would have lost its touch a little compared to that original take they did. So I'm glad, yeah, it keeps the atmosphere. And then coming towards the near end of the album, we finally get our first lead vocal performance by who's probably my favorite Beach Boy, Dennis Wilson. And, like I said, he's my favorite just because I love his songwriting skills so much, and he just got such a great voice, and it's just a shame that he was not able to contribute more to this album due to his life kind of spiraling out of control. And even if that song, what is it called? Sorry, it's trying to say. Um, I feel like it's trying to say, well, even if it wasn't written by him, I still find his performance on it to be so cheerful and adding to the positivity that this song has with its baseball theme going on. And it just captures another sense of childlike innocence that this record implies, or the title implies. Might say it's the weakest song besides Hey Little Tomboy, but even then, it's got a melody like Games 2 can play that is just hard to ignore, or at least hard for me to not tap to. But after that, we get to this beautiful song, perfect timing, I know. It's the intended closer for side 2, or for Adult Child, and I think it would have been a fantastic closer. It's hard for me to describe how amazing this song is to me, and just how special. It's just easily a top 10 Beach Boys song for me. Perhaps one of the most underrated Beach Boys songs. If you haven't heard the song, you're listening to it now, but if you haven't heard it outside of this video, check it out for yourself, because it has such a beautiful Brian Wilson performance. One of his best vocals, especially in the late 70s, probably the best from the late 70s, and it does very much sound like a Frank Sinatra song, which it was intended for Frank to sing, which he never took the offer, which I'm glad, because I think Brian really captures the lyrics that, I mean, obviously he was the one who wrote them, so they do seem a little autobiographical, which I love, and I feel like being a Beach Boys fan for so many years of my life now, and knowing all the stuff that was going around during the time of these records and all that, it just adds more to the specialness to me, I guess. Yeah, the song is just so beautiful, and definitely one of Brian Wilson's best songs. And that would have been a great closer too, but they decided to close this record off with Calendar Girl, which honestly I still think is a good way to close the record too, just because it ends the record on such a positive note, like most of these songs are. And I think it makes it, well, for me at least, makes me want to just flip the record over and start again, because it's just so much fun listening to the song, especially Calendar Girl. It has another great lead vocal by Mike Love, and it just has such a bouncy groove to it that is so much fun. And like I said, the production is a little flat, but what are you gonna do? It's a bootleg, right? So yeah, this album in general, though it is kind of like a compilation at this point, with the bonus covers, it's still to me an amazing album that's, I don't know, never got to see the light of day. But I think I'm glad there's a cult following for it now, because obviously with it being offered on YouTube and all that, you could discover it for yourself. But I don't know. I'd love to hear your top 5 songs. I mean, for me, I'm trying to think, would be like Still I Dream of It, You Lost That Loving Feeling, Lines, Shorten and Bread, and then Deep Purple. I mean, there's still like, I think there's 17 songs total, but the whole experience is really great, besides Hey Little Tomboy. So, like I said, I'd love to hear your thoughts about it. Subscribe if you're interested in more Beach Boys content, or just more cool music. I don't know. I try to review only the cool stuff, you know? Anyhow, I'll see you guys later. Ta-ta, bye.